أنا مع الحين جيم راين الرجل الثاني في سوني أوروبا. عندي بعض الأسئلة بنقل له بعض الأسئلة اللي سألتوني إياها في الموضوع. I'd just like to start with the usual question. You know, we have a podcast and our listeners ask us constantly, why doesn't Sony support Arabic much, even though there are maybe hundreds of millions of people who speak Arabic, even in subtitles, not necessarily the system itself, but sport games, first-party games with subtitles or any kind of Arabic support. Well, why is it missing?
One of the problems up till now has been the endemic level of piracy in Middle Eastern markets, and you know, we've seen it as a phenomenon in music, in video, also in games on competitive platforms, on our own platforms, PSP and PS2. And you know, the unfortunate truth is that it makes it very difficult for people who create content and people who publish content to make a reasonable return on the investment required to localize. Now, that said, so far PS3 has proved a difficult format to pirate, and consequently it's possible for people who make games to make a little bit of money on them, and so markets such as Saudi Arabia are now, particularly as in terms of console business, the market is growing incredibly quickly. It's coming into play, and I think it's an area that you'll see us focus on in the next year or two.
So shall we see, are we going to see any improvement in this area?
Well, anything would be an improvement on what we have at the moment.
I mean, in terms of Arabic support.
In terms of
Arabic support.
Yeah, I mean, I can't give you specifics right now, but I think if business continues to do as well as it does at the moment, and if there continues to be no piracy in these markets, then yes, we will see localization.
But don't you see that maybe supporting Arabic will bring more people who will buy original games? Because right now because I've talked to some people and they try to justify the piracy. They said, look, they don't care about us, so why should we care about them? So,
well, I mean, this is something that we can argue about all night, but you know, our experience is, and this is a kind of path we've been down, not just in the Arabic markets, but also in Eastern Europe, in Southern Europe, Italy, Spain, also, that you know, if a system is pirated, the content becomes available for $1, $2, $5, and a fully localized game into Arabic, or whether it's Polish or whether it's Russian, that's selling for $30 or $40 is still just not competitive against the pirate product. So it's only when you have a secure system that localization in markets like this becomes a viable proposition.
So if the PS3 keeps doing well and doesn't have any pirate game, when shall we expect any support?
Well, I think you'll see it in the near to medium term. You won't see it in 2010, but 2-3 years would be a reasonable sort of horizon. Yeah.
Any plans for maybe digital content targeted towards Arabic regions?
We've had some signs of local developers interested in developing local sort of snack-sized gaming content that would have a somewhat Arabic bias in nature. You've seen the sort of games today that our own worldwide studios develop, very big, rich, immersive experiences with very high production values. And so, you know, that sort of content is not something that we as a developer are looking to do. It's not a platform holder's remit, if you will, but we would definitely encourage local development initiatives from within the region. And you know, my colleagues who are with me today have had a number of discussions with people like this, many of whom are involved in local educational institutions who are sort of doing it as part of their degree studies.
Okay, back to digital content. Should we expect any adding video store to the Saudi Arabian region? Because right now it only has games. It doesn't have any videos or movies.
Well, the video store, I think, is available in now 8 or 9 markets, and it will expand. But you know, it will be some considerable time before it reaches markets like Saudi Arabia. And again, one of the reasons for that is piracy of video content. Just as in games, people who localize these systems, they have to generate a return on that investment, and if piracy is endemic in the marketplace, it's an unfortunate fact of life that that sort of thing is not viable.
So basically, you're acting for more sales in the regions in order to be supported.
Yeah.
Is there anything else people should be aware of?
No, I think it's really around sales, momentum, market presence, and all of which is now really happening in Saudi Arabia in a very big way. Again, just keeping our fingers crossed that PS3 is not subject to piracy.
Okay, one more question. Are there any plans, this is not specific to us, but are there any plans to have, for example, like Heavyweight, first party titles, any plans to have maybe versions that have, like, some of the scenes that have nudity and sex in it, taken out, those versions?
Probably not. We are quite attentive to the unique cultural requirements of some of the markets in the Middle East. And there have been a number of games where we've either factored the requirements of those markets into the original game design, or we've made changes to the content once it's been finished, some sort of editing. There have been games, SingStar games for example, that have been taken off a SingStar disc to allow that disc to be published in Saudi Arabia. But if you're talking about something like Heavy Rain, where the partially dressed female character is a very integral part of the game, it would require basically a remake of the game, which would simply not be possible. But that said, as to reiterate what I said before, we are very sensitive to the cultural needs of the markets in the Middle East, and do our really very best to respond to it.
I just remember one more thing. Something as simple as localizing the operating system, for example. Is that something we could expect maybe? Okay, but the games could be...
Yeah, localization of the operating system is tough, particularly when the script, the actual physical script is different, very different to the Western lettering. So it's very difficult, and there's a lot of effort and investment involved in that.
Is that also tied to the piracy issue?
No, not particularly. That really is more to do with the level of network usage in a particular market. It could come, but there's a very long list of things that our network engineers are working on, and that would have to take its place in that list. So I don't see that on the list at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Jim. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.